The howl tore through the frozen silence of the mountain. Biologist Dr. Elena Voss dropped her cup when she heard the sound coming from the tracking monitors. It was not a common call. It was pure desperation, coming from an impossible location, the restricted area where mountain gorillas had been reintroduced after decades of local extinction. Her assistant, James, turned pale. Wolves and gorillas were not supposed to share the same territory. Never. They ran uphill for 40 minutes, following the GPS signal. The cold cut like glass, but Elena barely felt it. When they finally reached the clearing, what they saw froze their blood in a different way. There was Kale, the young gray wolf they had tagged 3 months earlier. He was hunched over something small and dark. A baby gorilla. Injured. Bleeding. The mother must have been dead somewhere nearby. Elena expected to see Kale attacking, devouring. Predators do not hesitate before vulnerable prey. But the wolf was licking the baby's wounds, warming it with his own body. The small gorilla, later to be called Zuri, clung to Kale's fur as if he were its own mother. Its dark eyes revealed pain and fear, but also something more, trust. James whispered that they needed to intervene. Separate the animals. Follow protocol. Elena raised her hand, asking for silence. Kale looked directly at her. There was no aggression in that gaze. There was something science could not easily explain. There was choice. The wolf howled again, but this time it was not desperation. It was a warning. Do not come closer. Do not touch him. He is mine. The baby gorilla began to tremble violently. It was going into shock. They had minutes, maybe seconds. Elena had to decide, follow years of scientific training or trust the impossible that her eyes were witnessing. Kale growled low when James took a step forward. The wolf would not abandon that creature, even if it cost him his own life. If you are enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Leave a comment saying what you thought and which city or country you are watching from. The decision came in seconds. Elena signaled for James to bring the emergency kit. Approaching would be the challenge. Kale maintained a defensive stance, his yellow eyes fixed on every human movement. The wolf was only 8 months old, but in that moment he seemed ancient, a protector of something sacred that no one else understood. James extended dried meat toward Kale. The wolf sniffed it but did not move. Zuri whimpered softly, his breathing becoming irregular. Elena noticed something disturbing. The baby gorilla had trap marks on his hind leg. Poachers. They had returned to the region, even after enforcement operations. Zuri's mother had probably died defending her child. While James distracted Kale, Elena managed to inject a mild sedative into Zuri. The baby relaxed in the wolf's arms, who immediately panicked. Kale tried to wake him, licking his face, nudging him with his snout. When Zuri did not respond, the wolf let out a wail Elena would never forget. It was pain. It was loss. It was far too human to come from an animal. James took advantage of the moment to grab Zuri, but Kale attacked. Not to bite, only to reclaim. Elena blocked the wolf with her own body, whispering words she did not even know made sense. Kale stopped panting, looking back and forth between her and the baby in James's arms. Then he did something unexpected. He followed them. They descended the mountain in tense silence. Kale kept a distance of 3 meters, never taking his eyes off Zuri. When they reached the rescue vehicle, the wolf tried to get in as well. James pushed him out, but Kale clawed at the door, howling without stopping. Elena felt her heart break. Closing that door would separate something that nature, against all odds, had united. Inside the vehicle, Zuri woke up disoriented. He looked around and began to scream. It was not a cry of physical pain. It was a cry of abandonment. Outside, Kale answered with increasingly desperate howls. Elena looked at James, who looked away. Both of them knew they had made a terrible mistake. The research station was 2 hours away. Throughout the entire journey, Zuri refused water, food, and contact. He curled up in the corner of the transport cage, glassy-eyed, trembling. Elena tried everything. Special primate formula, heated blankets, recorded sounds of adult gorillas. Nothing worked. The baby was giving up on life. On the 3rd night, Zuri developed a high fever. The veterinarian, Dr. Amara, prepared antibiotics and intravenous fluids. But when they tried to hold the baby to administer the medication, he completely collapsed. His heart nearly stopped. Amara looked at Elena with that expression doctors have when there is nothing left to do. They had hours, maybe less. Elena left the room and walked to the window. Outside, on the security cameras, something impossible had appeared every night since they arrived. Kale. The wolf had followed the vehicle for kilometers through dense forest. Now he camped at the edge of the property, howling at regular intervals. As if he were calling. As if he were waiting for permission. James entered the office carrying reports. Elena made a decision that could end her career. She grabbed the keys to the quarantine area and walked toward the back door. James held her arm, warning about biosecurity protocols, risks of cross-contamination, possible attacks. Elena gently freed herself. Some protocols need to be broken when lives are at stake. She opened the door. Kale was 10 meters away, sitting, waiting. His eyes glowed in the dark. Elena stepped aside, leaving a clear path. The wolf did not hesitate. He went straight in, following the scent to the medical room. Amara screamed when she saw the animal, but Elena stopped her from calling security. Kale went straight to Zuri's cage. The small gorilla lifted his head. His lifeless eyes suddenly filled with light. He stretched a weak arm through the bars. Kale licked his hand. Then Zuri did something none of them expected. He smiled. Amara hesitantly opened the cage. Kale entered and lay down beside Zuri, warming the baby's fragile body. Within minutes, something extraordinary happened. Zuri's breathing stabilized. His temperature began to drop. The small gorilla nestled into the wolf's fur and for the first time in days, fell into a deep sleep. Amara checked the monitors 3 times, incredulous. The vital signs were improving. It made no medical sense. But it was happening. Elena stayed awake the entire night watching. Kale did not sleep. He remained alert, periodically licking Zuri, adjusting his position to ensure the baby was breathing better. It was maternal behavior coming from a young male who had never had offspring. James entered the room at dawn with news that would change everything. The authorities had captured the illegal poachers. And there was more. They had confessed to having active traps in 12 different locations on the mountain. Elena felt anger rise in her throat. 12 traps. How many other Zuris were out there, injured, agonizing alone? James explained that the rescue operation would begin in a few hours, but they needed someone who knew the territory. Elena looked at Kale. The wolf knew every inch of that mountain. But separating him from Zuri again could kill the baby. It was an impossible choice. Then Amara suggested something radical. Take Zuri along. Create a special transport backpack. Keep the baby warm and medicated while Kale guided the team to the traps. James called her crazy. Elena called her brilliant. 3 hours later, they were back on the mountain. Zuri on Elena's back, Kale running ahead, sniffing, searching. The wolf found the first trap in 20 minutes. Then the second. The third. At each location, he stopped and looked back, making sure Zuri was okay. By the end of the day, they had disarmed all 12 traps and rescued 3 babies of different species. Kale led everything. And when they were finished, he went straight back to Zuri, checking that the small gorilla was still breathing, still alive, still his to protect. 6 months later, the wildlife sanctuary in the mountainous region received 2 special residents. Zuri had fully recovered, growing strong and healthy. Kale never left his side. Specialists tried to reintroduce the wolf to a young pack that was being formed. He refused. Every time they were separated from Zuri, both of them fell into deep depression. Science had to accept it, they were family. At the sanctuary, something magical began to happen. Kale matured but kept his role as protector. Zuri learned behaviors from both species. He watched Kale hunt small rodents and developed tracking techniques that no gorilla had ever demonstrated. Kale, in turn, learned from Zuri to use simple tools, picking up sticks the gorilla offered to reach food. When a rescued she-wolf named Nala arrived at the sanctuary, everyone feared that Kale would finally abandon Zuri. But the wolf made his choice once again. Nala was accepted only after she showed respect for Zuri. The 3 formed an inseparable trio. Months later, when Nala had her pups, Zuri took on a protective role, keeping dangers away, bringing food, and warming the small wolves when Nala needed to rest. Elena visited regularly, documenting everything. Her research transformed scientific concepts about animal behavior, interspecies empathy, and the nature of family. She presented her findings at world conferences. Some scientists remained skeptical, but the evidence was irrefutable. Kale and Zuri proved that love knows no boundaries of species. James, who had initially doubted, became the sanctuary's greatest advocate. Amara developed new protocols for rehabilitating traumatized animals, always considering emotional bonds above rigid biological categories. The poachers received maximum sentences. Dozens of other animals were saved thanks to that mission. Today, 5 years later, Kale and Zuri still live together. Their story teaches something profound. Compassion is not weakness. It is the most powerful force in nature. Family is not defined by blood or species, but by choice, loyalty, and unconditional love. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Share in the comments what you felt and where you are watching from. Stories like this need to be told.